What are your most frustrating internalized misogyny moments? Mine is when my mother told me to clean my 15-year-old brother's room, when I had been helping her with chores since I was 5. It started with clearing the table and washing the dishes, and quickly escalated to cleaning the floors and stairs and hanging laundry, which included carrying a heavy basket of wet clothes up 2 flights of stairs to the rooftop. And when my brother was a newborn and I was 9, I had to learn how to handwash clothes because his baby outfits couldn't be washed in the machine, and it immediately became my responsibility. My little sister was also a victim of this treatment, although poor girl never complained as much as I did. So when my mom asked me to clean his room while he sat playing video games, I snapped and told her that was never happening again. She tried to guilt-trip me, but I was old enough not to fall for it anymore. She later on realized she had failed him as a mother because he never learned the discipline of cleaning after himself. What's your internalized misogyny story? ETA as usual. Some people here choose to ignore the main topic of the post, which is internalized misogyny, which is defined as a form of sexist behavior and attitudes enacted by women toward themselves or other women and girls. This is specifically about those instances where we or other women perpetuate misogyny towards ourselves or other women. This doesn't mean that I'm absolving my father or saying he had nothing to do with this, but that this is a space to discuss the particular instances where we have been victims of and/or have contributed to internalized misogyny. I've also made it clear in many of the replies that I don't think he's innocent in this. It's just that it's not what I'm talking about here. And that doesn't mean that all the other women in the comments here who talked about their stories with mothers, aunties, are absolving the men in their lives either. It is okay to hold women accountable from time to time for how they harm other women. The female CEO that underpays her female employees or ignores it when a female employee complains about sexual harassment should be held accountable. The mother who forces her daughters to serve her sons should be held accountable. The girl who shames other girls for having sex or dressing up provocatively should be held accountable. The woman that deliberately dates taken men should be held accountable. And no, holding women accountable is not internalized misogyny. Shifting the conversation into "but what about men?" and I hope the irony is not lost on y'all, does no good. It just stops the conversation from going further and removes agency from these women, as if they're poor creatures incapable of realizing right from wrong. That it's my responsibility to ensure everyone else's emotional comfort, and to prioritize it above my own. My mom always complained at the holidays that my Aunt Hercille never helped the other women clean up the kitchen. She won't even offer to wash the dishes. I asked her if her brother's arms were broken. It was like a light bulb went off in her head and she never mentioned it again. I don't want to shave my legs and armpits. I don't want to spend the money on unnecessary razors and creams, plus I have a full-time job and kids. That time would be better spent sleeping. I stopped for 2 months. And the whole time I felt so self-conscious every time I went out into public. Was everyone staring at my hair? How would it reflect on my reputation at work? So I'm back to shaving them again. My dad, when he was talking to me and my brother dinner, baring his soul to us about how he wishes we spent more time with him. How? With my brother, they could watch anime, build PCs, go biking. And with me? He stared at me for a moment, and deadass could only come up with laundry, washing the dishes, chores. My brother and I looked at each other, then him, in stunned and flabbergasted silence. The whole need about being skinny. I used to be 130 pounds, fit, worked out a lot and looked thin and toned. I started gaining weight quickly when I stopped, all due to mental health for stopping working out. Due to undiagnosed PCOS. It's been hard to lose the weight. And I feel so much disgust and feel like people are laughing at me or looking at me in disgust for my weight because society says we have to be thin. I will fight tooth and nail and risk anything for a fellow woman employee or friend or whatnot if they are being harassed. I'll take it to the top. I am comfortable fighting for other women. But when I am harassed, I don't want to rock the boat. I'll wait to see if others are harassed and then ask if they'd like me to intervene for them. Not realizing until recently that I experienced more sexual assault than I have historically acknowledged. Because older males when I was a teen gave me intoxicants then took me to an isolated location where then sexual activity occurred that I didn't actively fight off but just went passive because I knew it would happen either way. That, too, is saw and realizing that made me aware that it's happened many times more than I was consciously clocking. Now I am. And it is crazy. Telling myself you can't wear this outfit. It's too revealing even though I want to wear the outfit. My mom used to tell me I can't wear stuff and my dad makes comments about me being half naked whenever there's cleavage showing or my belly button is exposed. It's easier when my parents are not around, but still uncomfortable. I internalized people pleasing, that it was my responsibility to manage other people's emotions, and if I failed to do so, any poor treatment I received was a reflection of my own failure. I'm a legal professional. I noticed at work that I would refer to other women by their first names, but had a tendency to refer to men as Mr. I grew up being taught by my mom about purity and how women's lives could be ruined for not being pure enough while men didn't face the same consequences. So when I was sexually abused at the age of 14 by my then boyfriend, I kept it to myself and let it happen for months without asking anyone for help because I was afraid I would be seen as a slut. It took 10 years and a meltdown for me to reveal it to my mom, and I still haven't had the heart to tell her that if only she taught me differently, perhaps I wouldn't be as traumatized as I am today. My wife has a lot of internalized shame around her genitalia and periods. Gross, ugly, smelly, nasty, shameful, private, not talked about. When she tried to inject that stuff into conversation with my daughter, I pulled my daughter aside and said, "You know none of that is right and none of it has ever served your mom well. Daughter, I know. It's just weird old people stuff. Pussies are great." Tears of joy. My daughter is really strong and caring and has been able to throw off a lot of stuff her mom tried to put on her, by default valuing men's comfort and pleasure more than mine. When I was 31 teaching yet another boyfriend how to use basic household cleaning supplies to clean a bathroom, and internally I got incredibly pissed that his mother hadn't taught him. Like, what the hell was she thinking, never making him do this? Then I was like, wait, why am I only pissed at his mother? My cousins are almost 20 years older than me and my sister. I remember as a tween, my cousin's husband would talk to me like I was an idiot. I wasn't a serious person in his mind and it made me feel like I wasn't. It wasn't until later that I realized he treated me like that solely because of my gender. Turns out my cousin left him because he molested their oldest daughter. This is over 40 years ago. So it sticks with you. When I wear lipstick, I can't help but feel like I'm wearing too much makeup and people will think I look like a whore. I complained to my mom that it was bullshit that my sister and I were always doing the dishes at Thanksgiving, Christmas, or pretty much any gathering, while my brother and dad would get to sit and have coffee and relax. My brother's solution to this was to hire his maid nanny to come and do the dishes. Except not on Christmas or Easter because she's Catholic and is spending the time with her own family and probably doing the dishes there. The perception that I, and other women, look better with makeup